Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm Ashley, and this is going to be my review for Ms. Marvel, Episode 4, Seeing Red.
In every generation, there is chosen one girl in all the world. She alone will review the movies, TV shows, and books of geek culture. I am the chosen girl.
So, I've been loving this show so far, and I was super excited to get back to the show, and I was slightly let down by this episode, but I still really enjoyed it. So let's go over it. So episode opens with Kamala and her mom on an airplane flying to Karachi in Pakistan. And I love that we go there, we take Kamala out of her little world in New Jersey, and she can get in touch with her culture a bit more, taking her to Pakistan, meeting more of her family. We get to meet Nani, a couple of her cousins. And so I just love seeing Kamala in this new environment and how she reacts, and learning more about her family and her past and her culture, and sort of realizing that even though she grows up in a Muslim community, it's still very different actually in Pakistan. The culture is still very different on a day-to-day basis. So I really like seeing her interact with everybody. I love seeing the relationship between Nani, the grandmother, and Kamala's mom, Muniba. I think that was something that we kind of has been building, and it's really good that we get this payoff to see them interact that way. And then Nani retells the story of the Trail of Stars from the train from when she was a little girl to Kamala, and you kind of get this sense that it was a huge impact on her life. And she kind of mentions her father a little bit and a little bit about her mom. And she has all these paintings in this room, trying to recall all these memories, maybe even some of the visions that she has. And so I really like the interactions between Nani and Kamala, and then Nani and Muniba. And so Kamala just asks her grandma if she knows about whether or not they're jinn or not. And the grandma just says, yeah, we are. And she's very casual about it, and Kamala's freaking out. But the way the grandma kind of explains it to Kamala is in a real compassionate and sort of wise way. She says that Kamala's focusing on the wrong things. Kamala should focus more on what it all means, and rather than the fact that she is a jinn with powers, which is really cool. But what does all that mean? How does that tie back into their family heritage and the greater kind of Noor dimension type of stuff? And I like kind of seeing her, because she is older and has had, a lot more time to, take in and process. This is her heritage is the jinn. And so I like that she's kind of imposing some of that wisdom to Kamala. And then we get Kamala going on a tour around Pakistan with her cousins, learning more about the culture, and just kind of food is a little bit spicier for her there, which is kind of interesting. And the cousins are kind of annoying. I kind of wish maybe we spent less time with them. And they just kind of ditch her so that she can go to the train station, even though she came all this way from America to visit. And they're like, yeah, we're just going to go meet up with our friend that we could probably meet up with any other time. But, you catch up later. You have fun at the train station. And so that's kind of they're not really great cousins. And they woke her up right in front of her bed. Who does that? So I wish we had a little less time with them. We could have spent more time with a couple of other new characters that we meet. And at the train station, there's a mural of Ant-Man on the wall. And there's actually a quote on the wall that says, "You could start small and still be larger than life." And of course this is something that appeals to Kamala because she loves the Avengers and everything. And it's actually a series of artworks. It says the artist's name, and it says series part 4 or something. And so I just kind of imagine all around Karachi there's these Avengers series of posters, murals done by this artist, which I think is really cool. I would love that in real life. Let's do that. But yeah, Kamala's a huge fan, so of course this is going to mean a lot to her, kind of encourage her, right, a little bit. And this is the third reference we've had to Ant-Man, so he's is he gonna pop up? That'd be great if we had Paul Rudd pop up. But I mean, maybe they're just trying to kind of keep Ant-Man in the conversation until we get to Quantumania, maybe. So that's kind of cool. I would love to see Paul Rudd in the show. And at the train station, Kamala gets attacked by a ninja with a red scarf over his face, which is hiding nobody's identity, but that's what they do. And so he knows about the Nor dimension, or the Nor energy. He says he could feel it, and he knows all about clandestine. And so, of course, Kamala trusts him. And then he gets a line where he says, "Come with me if you want to live," I think. And so they just have like all these movie references in the show, which I think is a lot of fun, because it kind of adds to the authenticity of how people really act and behave in real life. Like, I quote movies all the time. I quote TV shows all the time. But that's just like real life. And this guy's name is Kino, short for Kareem. And then, so he takes her to the Red Dagger's hideout, which is a little too trusting and accepting, but I guess she I think she says she's not with the clandestine, and I don't know. So she goes out and she meets with Kino, and I think the maybe leader of the Red Daggers, somebody named, a guy named Walid, I think is how you pronounce his name. And so the Red Daggers know all about Aisha, and they confirm the clandestines are not exactly the same as the Jinn of legend and stories. So Walid, the leader of the Red Daggers, kind of has this knowledge that he wants to impart upon Kamala. So we learn a little bit more, but not really a whole lot. We kind of just expand upon what we already knew a little bit. And so I wish we got maybe some more new information from this episode. He does show her this kind of cool map on the wall with like a map of the world, Earth, and then like overlapping it is like this hologram of another dimension or another realm. And I was wondering if that was just the map of the Nor dimension, or if we're like Ta Lo was from Shang-Chi, if that was on their map too, or do they know about the realm of Ta Lo? I'm really curious if we're going to explore any more of these extra realms, like the Nor dimension and the Ta Lo realm, that can be accessed from our world, but exist kind of outside of our world with their own world and creatures and stuff. I'm wondering how far we're going to go into that, if that's going to play a bigger role down the line. I don't know, but it was a cool map to see. Walid reads the bangle. He transcribes what was written on the bangle. He reads it, and it says something like, "What you are seeking is seeking you," which is kind of a cryptic little message. We don't really know what that's about yet. But he does say that the Nor dimension kind of overlaps our dimension, and that if the bangles break down the barriers to the Nor dimension will basically just take over our world, or destroy our world, basically. We kind of get a little bit more of an explanation about why we can't just send the clandestine back to their world. It will cause destruction on Earth, and, obviously we can't have that. I'm still curious about the second bangle, because in the opening of the last episode, when Aisha found it, they said that there was, the priest or something said they needed 2 bangles. So I'm curious if having the 2 bangles would be a safer way to open the realm. I don't know. I'm surprised we're not looking harder for this second bangle. Yeah, I don't know about that. So I hope we get more information going forward, and I hope we maybe find that second bangle or find Aisha, but we don't know. And then the members of Clandestine were taken away to the Department of Damage Control Supermax prison, and they escape fairly easily. They just take out the guards that have like these cool weapons pretty easily, and then Najma just leaves her son behind, Cameron. She just says, "Oh, he's a traitor. He's chosen his path. Leave him behind." And that's like kind of really sad, poor guy. So I wonder what's going to happen to Cameron, if he's going to come back into the picture, if he's going to get maybe that second bangle and unlock his own powers. But the Clandestine in this episode were kind of just like standard villains that are not that interesting. They break out fairly easily, and they immediately find Kamala in Pakistan, like same day or overnight day, which is kind of, I don't know where the Supermax prison is, but I don't know how they're traveling, but I doubt they would get there in such a short span of time. But I do love the scene between Kamala's mom, Muniba, and Nani, the grandmother. And we finally, they've been building that there's this tension between the two of them, and so we finally kind of get some of that explanation, and release, and it's a very touching scene. Muniba's trying to take care of her mom. She offers to have her come stay with them in America, and they, kind of rehash why Muniba left in the first place, and it's because, her mom had all these fantasies, and the neighbors thought that she was maybe crazy or weird, and it was just something that kind of drove Muniba away. She says to her mom, even though the stories that you say maybe are not be true, I still needed my mother and not some fantasy land. And I think that's why she really resents that kind of thinking that Kamala has. She sees it in her mom, and she sees it in Kamala, and I think that's why her and Kamala also clash a little bit. And it's a really great scene. I really like it. The actress that plays Muniba, I think, is doing a fantastic job in this series. I think she's been great. I love Kamala's parents, and I hope that she gets more work after this, because I think every scene they've given her she's been so great with it. And then we get back to the Red Daggers. Kamala trains with them a little bit. They kind of explain that her powers, it's her humanity that connects her to the powers through the Nor dimension or something like that. And that's why she can use them in this world. And that's why it makes her a little bit different from the clandestine, I guess. And then Walid gives Kamala a vest of fabric. He says has a lot of history in it, and he says it connects her to her culture. And it's kind of like a cool looking vest that she wears through the rest of the episode. So that was nice. And then they immediately get attacked by the clandestine, who just crash in on them. And again, they got there super fast. I don't know how they got there, but they just crash in on them. Walid takes on the clandestine by himself while Kino protects Kamala, and then they all escape, and then we get a car chase scene, and then Kamala uses her powers to protect a family on the road, and then we get another callback to Kamala's driving test again, how she failed because she tries to steal a van or a truck. And then she hits it in reverse because it's manual and she doesn't know what she's doing. And then she hits it in reverse and crashes and loses all this guy's product and then takes off. And then she runs into one of the clandestine members. And then they just get out and do a chase on foot for a while throughout the town until Najma kills Walid, who was trying to protect Kamala and Kino. So that was kind of sad, but we didn't really know this character. Like I said, I wish we got maybe more time with them to really care. But he died protecting them, and I wish we would have got more with him to make the sacrifice a little bit more memorable. And so then Kamala and then Kino take on the rest of the clandestine, and she actually does pretty good. She's using her powers, she's learning a bit more, and she's actually fighting pretty well against them for a little bit. And then Kino kills one of the clandestine members. I think both of the guys go out. And so then Najma and Kamala are fighting, and Najma pierces the bangle with her dagger or something, and then Kamala is transported into her trained vision, the night that Nani was separated from her parents, and she's transported there physically, which is kind of crazy. And then that's where the episode ends. And so there's real no conclusion to anything, and we only get to learn a little bit of new information. I was hoping we would find Aisha and get back to Jersey, because I miss Bruno and Nakia, her friends. This episode's main focus was to introduce the Red Daggers, which I'm not sure why they need to get involved with this clandestine thing. I mean, they just say they've been around for a long time and they help protect their people, but how does this have anything to do with their people? Kamala was in New Jersey. She just now got to Pakistan. So, I'm not sure why we need the Red Daggers, other than I think they're from the comics, and that's about it. But we learn a little bit more about the Bangle and her powers, and a little bit more about her family. And like I said, it's really nice to meet Nani and all the scenes that she had with Kamala and Muniba. And I love that this is a generation of mothers and daughters, and seeing how they compare and contrast to each of the relationships, right? In a lot of ways, the relationship between Nani and Muniba is similar to Muniba and Kamala. In a lot of ways, it's also very different. So It reminds me a little bit of the show Gilmore Girls in that kind of way. It's all about exploring the relationships between mothers and daughters. So I really liked that aspect of this episode. I feel like the family drama keeps the show grounded in a way, kind of more relatable. I just wish Kamala would finally tell her mom about her powers. But so far the clandestine are just mustache twirling villains. I mean, I was kind of hoping for something more from them. They started off kind of maybe, at the beginning of episode 3, they were kind of a little bit more interesting, and now they're just ruthless killers hunting down Kamala for the bangle, and it's kind of not great. I mean, Najma just leaves her son, and I mean, they don't really get like hardly any lines of dialogue either, so I kind of wish we had more scenes from their perspective to see how they're reacting, and more emotional reactions rather than these trained killers hunting down a child, because it's not very good so far. And it started off like it could have been really good with Najma trying to connect to Kamala, but then she just like turns, and they all turn. So I don't really like the clandestine. They're not working out for me right now. Maybe they'll get better, hopefully. We'll see. I still don't understand the bangle's connection to the Noor dimension and how it unlocked Kamala's powers. I mean, they found the bangle on the severed arm of some blue person. Are we not going to address who the blue person was? I mean, was that blue person from the Noor dimension? I mean, or was that like the original genie of this land legends are based on? I don't know. So I feel like the show isn't really connecting all the dots to this whole genie jinn thing that's going on with Kamala, and that's a little bit disappointing. I still really enjoy this episode and this show overall, because I love the character Kamala and I really liked her friends. I wish we would have gotten a little bit more in this episode. We could have ditched some of the cousin stuff and really explored a bit more of the Red Daggers and Kamala, and maybe move quicker towards finding Aisha or whatever we're going through. It feels like we had a focus and now we're losing focus, and so I'm hoping the show will get better. There's only 2 episodes left. I think we can get back on track. This is really kind of like a filler episode, so I was a little disappointed by it, but overall I'm still really enjoying the show. So anyway, those are my thoughts. Let me all know what you guys thought about the 4th episode of Ms. Marvel. Thank you all for watching the video. Thank you for listening. Be sure to check out next week for another new video review on Ms. Marvel. Thank you.